Good morning. Well, it's nice to be at a Shotsuki service again, at least in spirit, via this video. Of course, I know that if we met in person, we'd certainly be sharing our grief for the events currently happening in Ukraine, and how much we all hope that the terrible conflict there ends soon. And then the other thing that dominates the news these days is that because of the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, we've all had to modify our expectations about returning to normal over and over again. And personally, I'm hoping that if 2022 isn't the end of the pandemic, it's at least the beginning of a new endemic that we can adjust to and live with. And so, as we gather for today's Shotsuki service and express our appreciation for our loved ones who've passed away in the month of April, I think that in the general sense of this being a Buddhist memorial service, we can not only reflect on the tragic events in Ukraine, but on the vast multitude of lives that we've all lost in these past 2 years of the pandemic. And, of course, if the Buddha were alive today, while I'm sure he'd deeply grieve the losses, of course, I don't think he'd be surprised exactly. And this is because of his teaching of impermanence. The solemn reading of the names at the beginning of the service reminds us of this truth and the reality that life is not only a gift, it is not permanent, and therefore its impermanent and unpredictable nature make this gift all the more precious. Buddhist memorial services are important because in encountering the loss of our loved ones, we have the opportunity to wake up to this reality, be transformed by it, and then live our lives in the light of this truth. And actually, in this Buddhist memorial service, we all have the same opportunity to encounter this truth of impermanence. Now, those of you who know me know that I've often emphasized this truth of impermanence in many talks and study classes. However, at least for some people's taste, I wonder if it maybe was a little too often. What I mean is, for example, I remember that in one of my Wednesday night study classes, we were in a deep discussion of the Buddha's own life-changing encounter with aging, illness, and death, which literally turned his life upside down, but which, of course, was also the key that led to his eventual awakening. So, well, I remember when we were discussing this event in the Buddha's life, I remember that one of the participants, looked me in the eye and asked, maybe in jest, gee, Reverend Peter, can't I just be happy? Well, for a moment I was speechless. And I was thinking, what? You mean that you don't want to hear more about impermanence? Well, excuse me. I bring up this, kind of lighthearted recollection because I think maybe we should clarify that there are, in fact, different ways that impermanence works in our lives. It's not all negative. Of course, I think, on the one hand, we'd all agree that, in our memorial services, we're focusing on what could be called impermanence caused difficulty. Impermanence caused difficulty. In other words, the passing of a loved one is difficult in large part because as mortal human beings ourselves, we are powerless to prevent it. But then on the other hand, the Buddha realized that while impermanence does indeed make life difficult, it's not the true cause of our suffering. The true cause of our suffering is our self-attachment. As human beings, we tend to believe that things should always go the way that we want them to. And I think as the Buddha's own awakening demonstrated, impermanence was not the cause, but actually the cure for suffering. This is because impermanence is the powerful and undeniable reality which challenged his sense of self-attachment and self-power. And then in so doing, it liberated him from the suffering caused by self-attachment. Therefore, according to the Buddha, although life is indeed difficult, and we certainly can grieve our losses, if we are suffering, this suffering is not impermanence caused, but self-caused. And today I'd like to share with you a kind of humorous but also illustrative example of self-caused suffering. Excuse me. So I'm calling this my Mattress Quest story, for lack of a better title. So for many years, my wife Diane and I have known that we needed a new mattress. At various times, we both experienced, impermanence in the form of ever-increasing aches and pains. But we were too busy to deal with getting a new mattress. Actually, I was the one who was holding things up because I tend to think of myself as a, smart shopper, which in other words means someone who knows how to use their computer to, research the internet and find the best, whatever. Although I didn't realize it at the time, this kind of thinking is an example of self-attachment, and which was setting me up for some self-caused suffering. So, that ubiquitous mattress chain commercial that says, if it's over 8, it's time to replace? So, the age of our mattress was actually a multiple of 8, so it was time. Both Diane and I had been growing increasingly upset with it, but what a huge hassle mattress shopping is. I mean, I'm an old school kind of baby boomer, and somebody who maybe not fondly, but who remembers buying their last mattress at Sears. And by the way, whatever happened to Sears? But I remember we'd gone in, laid down for a few seconds on 2 or 3 mattresses. We'd chosen the most comfortable one, and then, wrote the check right then and there. So not surprisingly, I was very dismayed when I checked the latest mattress reviews at the Consumer Reports website and counted 240 mattress reviews. And yes, I did study them. And I also watched way too many mattress review videos on YouTube. But eventually, with 2, I guess, primary mattress candidates in mind, we visited a couple of stores in Old Town Pasadena that had these top-rated mattresses in stock, which was important so that we could, actually try them. And so I should explain that, as some of you may know, it seems like the majority of top-rated mattresses these days, are of what's called the bed in a box variety, and are primarily sold online. This may be a result of the pandemic partially, but these bed in a box mattresses, you're not expected to try them out beforehand. And so yes, they do offer generous return policies because of this sort of online shopping experience. But I decided that as a smart shopper, we tilt the odds in our favor if we could find mattresses that had brick and mortar stores where we could actually try them out beforehand. Of course, if you do find such stores, they tend to be in trendy parts of LA, the parts of LA where we never visit because being seniors, we basically have an aversion to traffic and parking issues. And yes, wouldn't you know it, Old Town Pasadena is stressful from a traffic and parking perspective. So it was tough, getting Diane to accompany me. I think she only obliged me because I, enticed her with hopes that a new mattress would also solve her aches and pains. So, once, in these stores, I spent lots of time discussing with the salesperson the various options, the pluses and minuses of each model and so forth. And actually, we almost bought one of these mattresses, and I ended up signing up for email notifications and additional info about the mattress or mattresses. And now weeks later, I'm still getting emails from these salespeople asking me, "Hi, Peter, have you made a decision yet?" So, so we didn't, purchase at those stores in Old Town. But later that night, the thought occurred to us, the thought occurred to me that, as long as we're spending a small fortune for a mattress, shouldn't we at least, check out our local neighborhood mega mattress chain store? I think you know the one. And so we went there, and after seemingly, becoming really good friends with the salesperson at the store, and after following her encouragement to go through their somewhat, I would say, uncomfortably personal bed match analysis tool. Bed match analysis is this tool where this mattress / computer takes a pressure map of your body, and the areas of greater pressure, the areas, are colored red on a large video screen. And, my pressure map showed a lot of red. And then, after this bed match analysis, we were able to narrow it down to one particular mattress, which we actually liked. And, we actually, almost bought this mattress also. But something inside of me, wanted to sleep on it, excuse the expression. Maybe I'd already, driven myself crazy, and, was mattressed out at that point. But sensing my hesitation, I think the sales lady, thought that she was, helping convince us to buy the thing right then and there by telling us, quote, "Getting a good mattress is important because you spend a third of your life sleeping on it." So ironically, however, I remember thinking about the enormity of committing a third of my life to it. And so her statistic inadvertently gave me cold feet about purchasing this mattress, or for that matter, any mattress. But, later I did feel bad about not buying that mattress because this particular salesperson was actually a very, very nice person and spent a lot of time with us. With that, that third of my life statistic, kind of weighing heavily on me, I went back and studied those 240 Consumer Reports reviews again. Not exactly all 240, maybe just the top quarter or so. And after re-reviewing them, I was then, pretty sure that the best mattress for us was another model that fortunately also had a local store in the LA area where we could try it out. But wouldn't you know it, this store was even farther away from us and in the even higher stress and worse traffic and parking area of West Hollywood. And so, not surprisingly, to get Diane to accompany me to West Hollywood, I had to basically bribe her with the promise of a selfie-worthy lunch in a trendy West Hollywood, WeHo restaurant. We did end up buying a mattress from this store, and then after a 3-week wait for it to be manufactured and delivered, I'd say that so far it seems to be working out okay. And I say, so far it's okay because after basically driving myself and Diane crazy, I've come to have, much less faith in my status as a smart shopper. as much as I hate to admit it, we probably could have just bought that mattress we liked at our local Mega Mattress store. The one that was a few blocks down from our house, and we probably would have been just as happy. Well, maybe I've slightly exaggerated this account of our difficult mattress quest, but actually, I think my story shows that even though there were, many encounters with unexpected developments, with things, not going the way that I wanted them to, in other words, impermanence, ultimately it was my own expectations and basic self-attachment that made all of these encounters so much worse. And so, while I wouldn't wish the challenge of finding a new mattress on anyone, I think an experience like this inevitably can change, one's view of things. As I mentioned earlier, the Buddha taught that impermanence is not the cause of, but the cure for suffering, because it challenges our self-attachment, which is the real cause of our suffering, and actually the cause of the suffering of people around us. And then, with the self-challenged, or even, as we might say, negated, we are able to more clearly see beyond our limited self-attached view. And as our self-attachment recedes, we simultaneously can begin to see our deep connections with other lives. And by the way, I think those of you who have experienced many Betsui Shotsuki services over the years would agree that over time there is a growing awareness of our collective loss as a Sangha, which works to bring us all together. And so this is, of course, another key truth that the Buddha taught, which is the interdependence and interconnectedness of all of our lives. We're normally unaware of this interdependence, but as I mentioned at the beginning of this talk, when we hear the reading of the Shotsuki names, I think we all realize that this truth of impermanence is a universal one. And realizing this, we naturally are brought together. And so on this occasion of our April Shotsuki service, I hope we can all experience a greater sense of oneness with our shared Sangha members, and really with all life. And yes, should you yourself need to go mattress shopping, please be kind to your local mattress salesperson. Thank you very much for listening. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.